Allison here, the bored housewife. I am so excited for this episode today. It has been a very long time coming. When I had first thought of doing this podcast, it was like a few months of research and just trying to figure out like how I should go about doing this. So by the time I finally made the first episode, I think by like the first or second episode, I already knew we were moving to. But it's just like, it's been such a process, and when you're dealing with the military, it's just very, there's just so much information, especially, going where we're going. So, we are moving to, I know, it's so corny, right? I will get to that in a second. But yeah, this week has been super crazy for me. I'm not sure about you guys, but whenever I come off of a long weekend, I'm like, bah! I had jury duty on Tuesday, did not get picked. Thank you, Lord. Because I was about to lose my mind. Thursday, I had an appointment, and then, trying to do some more creative things on some of the other platforms. I've just been really crazy. So, but I'm getting this shot and done, and you guys are now going to be watching it on Monday. So I'm just happy that this is all getting done. So anyways, sit back and relax, guys. Grab your beverage of choice and cheers. Let's have some fun. First things first, the cocktail of the hour. This week I made an aviation cocktail. The aviation. It is a very classic cocktail. I used to drink these a lot in my mid to early 20s, or early to mid 20s rather. It's a little different than the traditional making. I had to kind of substitute a little bit, but it's still very delicious. So I used 3 ounces of gin, half ounce of creme de violet, and half an ounce of grenadine. It calls for maraschino liqueur. I did not have that. And my area does not have that. So, I didn't spend very much time looking for it, but the one place I went to, I was like, okay, never mind. And then half a squeezed lemon. And then, stir it and serve it up or over ice, however you like to drink it. If you would like to make a virgin cocktail of this, you can make violet water, or that lavender simple syrup. And then mix that with some club soda, put some grenadine in it, and I think that would make a really nice virgin cocktail. So, cheers, guys. Let's get to the episode. So, if you are one of my personal friends, which most of you who watch this, I think, you already know. But if you don't know me personally and you're new to my page, well, I am finally revealing that we are moving to Okinawa, Japan. I am so freaking excited. It is going to be such a drastic change from northern Alabama, but I am very ready for it. As wonderful as Alabama has been to us the last 2.5, almost 3 years, I am just a city girl at heart, and so I don't have super high expectations for Okinawa. I've never been there before. My husband has never been there. I do know that there is more city aspect of it than there is here. At least I'm hoping so. But there's just going to be so much to explore, so many things to do, and places to see. So hopefully it'll go really well, but we're super, super excited. For those of you who are not familiar with Okinawa, Okinawa, they kind of refer to as like the Hawaii of Japan. So Japan is made up into, and I don't know if I'm saying this right, but prefectures or prefectures. And that's basically like their state. And so you have like mainland Japan, which is where like Tokyo is, and like some of the more like popular areas of Japan. And then off of there, you have these islands, and there's like hundreds of islands. Some of them are habited, some of them aren't. I should have looked this up beforehand, but I think it's the Roku or some sort of like, ancient tribe that had originally lived on these. So there's ruins everywhere. There's so much history there. The American presence has been on there since World War II. It's part of the treaty that was signed after they bombed Pearl Harbor, that we maintain a military presence there. And Japan doesn't actually have their own military. They have like a military police type thing, like a National Guard kind of. But they don't have their own like big military like what we do, or like what other countries have, because it's part of that treaty they signed for all the shit they started in World War II. But anyways, so I think actually it's a 100-year contract. So I don't know what all the political details, if they'll actually hold up to that for 100 years. But yeah, so we're going to be in Okinawa. It's one of the bigger islands of this, I don't know what you call that, but there's just so many different islands, and it's in the China Sea. So they get a lot of typhoons. They do get tsunamis. I feel pretty blessed because I guess there was a tsunami that hit this whole area in like 2011, and that's when it hit the power plant in Tokyo, and all of that area faced like really bad radiation from that. That supposedly is like a once in a century sort of storm. So, okay. I'll take little tsunamis. I don't wanna get into any big ones, but it is what it is. Yeah, so whatever. We can't plan life. So, but we are just so excited. So if you're into like, my husband and I are hoping that when we get there, we will take advantage of what we have. And the Marine Corps offers like free scuba diving lessons. And I guess like the scuba and the snorkeling, if you're into that, is like some of the best in the world. Like maybe the best in some people's opinion in the whole world. So I feel really blessed and lucky to maybe be able to experience that. They have so many different hiking trails from what I've read. And like I said, it used to be like an ancient civilization that lived there. So they have all these different ruins that you can go and hike to and look at. Yeah, there's just so much history, and I'm just really excited to not only experience what that history is, but like just experience a new culture too. Like, never in my wildest dreams would I have thought to go to Japan. And ask any one of my friends, and they even said to me, like, I can't believe you are going to live in Japan. And not to be like mean to me about it, but it's just like, I've always romanticized about living in Italy and France and like Europe and those like areas and stuff. Like, I'm obsessed with Italian food. And I'll get to this in a minute, but like, I've just never really enjoyed the Asian food flavors very much. Until now, actually. I actually really am starting to like them. The last few years, I've gotten really open-minded about food. So, very excited to try some new cuisines, and yeah, just see what it's like. Like, I think it's just going to be, I've tried to learn a little bit of Japanese. It's extremely hard to learn. I need to like start focusing more on practicing some things, and I'll tell you guys all that in a minute. But yeah, just to kind of give you an idea of what we're walking into. Yeah, that's where I'm at. So, in my last episode, I explained that I was having like feeling overwhelmed, and this is part of it. Just to get this annoying information shit out of the way. It's really difficult moving to another country. And when you're associated with the military, I imagine it's probably, maybe in some ways it's easier, maybe in some ways it's harder. But it's just like there's all these different forms and things that we have to do and fill out and get organized. And, you're at the mercy of the Marine Corps and the military, and you just kind of have to at the mercy of other people that are supposed to help you. And I say that because it's just like we're on recruiting duty, and so we're not associated right now with a Marine Corps base or like a Navy base. So it has just been incredibly difficult trying to get the right information that we need and to figure out who has answers for us and stuff, because with on recruiting duty we do have a command who is helpful in these scenarios, but the person who helps in these moves, they're one person, and I don't know what a normal scenario would look like, so I can only speak on the fact that we're doing this while on recruiting duty. But it's just that person is, it seems like that person's spread pretty thin. So just trying to get answers and figure out where we're supposed to submit things has just been really, really difficult. And so far, we've really only dealt with the medical screening. So we found out about this in February. I went and got a medical screening in March, mid-March. And I've been trying so hard to get signed up for my vaccinations. So there's several vaccinations that you have to have, or they highly recommend that you have. One is Japanese encephalitis. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a disease that could cause swelling in the brain and could kill you. It's not contagious between people, but it's carried through mosquitoes and mosquito bites. So good immunization to have. But it comes in 2 doses, and then there's just tetanus shot, and then they want to see what other kind of vaccines that you've had. Well, my vaccine records are not up to date. We have no idea where the vaccines happened. I know I got vaccines before I went to college because I had to. It was required through my college. And my doctor's office, my county health department have no record of those vaccines at all. My mom has no idea where my vaccine sheet is. So I was scrambling trying to get all this stuff. Well, it didn't matter anyways because they did lab results on me, and there were several vaccines that I had received as a child, which most people would be fine, that just the antibodies don't show up in my blood. So it's okay. Good thing I didn't go to Disney World anytime soon. Sorry, bad joke, I know. One of them was measles, mumps, and rubella, and I know that there was an outbreak of little kids from the anti-vaxxers not vaccinating their kids. Not that I don't have any opinion about it. I'm just saying. I'm well, that's weird that it didn't show up. But anyways, so the thing that stressed me out the most was I was pretty sure I've never received hepatitis A or B. And it's not I don't think it's a super common one that people get. But it's funny because I was talking to my mom about it, and I was well, I lived in New York for 7.5 years, and that place is disgusting. So I think I'm okay. If I haven't gotten hepatitis A or B from living in New York, I think I'm good, right? She was yeah. But yeah, so that vaccine takes 6 months to dose out because it's 3 different doses. And you have to do them at specific times. And then the Japanese encephalitis, that one too, it's you get 1 dose and then you have to do another dose 30 days later. So we're moving in October, right? I have time for the Japanese encephalitis, but at this point, it's okay, I've just received my hepatitis A and B shot. I'm going to have to wait to get the last one once we're over in Okinawa. And there was some confusion on my end whether or not I had to have all these shots finished before I got there, or if I could finish them up once we got there. and it was very stressful, and we were dealing with an army hospital, and they just do things different. And, it's just, and I just think in general too, it's just like you kind of have to stay on top of stuff sometimes. And I'm not trying to speak like poorly of people in these facilities, but I just think that there's just so much going on, and people are probably spread really thin. So I get it, but I showed up like several different times, and they had like I had an appointment, but they had no idea what my appointment was for. And then the vaccine lady was like, well, I can't give you any vaccines without your doctor's approval, and this and that, whatever. It was a whole thing, very stressful. Calling my husband up, crying and screaming, because I'm just like, are they going to send him over there without me? Like, are we going to have to, like, am I going to have to stay in Alabama for 2 more months before, like, I can go over there? Like, what the hell? And I've been on top of this since February, and this is just crazy. So it's one of those where you're just frustrated and angry because you're like, I've been trying so hard. Like, we could have had this all, like, organized. And, but it's fine. So yesterday, I got I got my first dose of hepatitis A and B. I got my Japanese encephalitis, and I got a tetanus shot. And this arm got the tetanus shot, and it hurts really bad. But yeah, I just try to move them around, and I did some like yoga yesterday, so I think I actually probably feel better than like had I just been like this after the shots. But yeah, so things are finally moving, and I'm like, now that I've received some of my vaccines, I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. Like, we're actually going now. Because it just kind of like, it just doesn't, like, there are moments, like, when I really think about it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm living in Japan soon. And then there are times where it's just like, there's just so much to do. There's just so much to do that it's like, no, this isn't happening. So, but my husband is like, come hell or high water, we are going to Japan because the Marine Corps has said so. The Marine Corps has spoken. We are going. So he's like, you can tell people that we're going to Japan. And I'm like, okay, not yet. Okay, not yet. So now that I've received some vaccines, I'm like, okay, I can tell people now. Okay, so like I had mentioned about like eating more Asian cuisine. I've just never been a fan of it. And there was a time when I lived in New York, this friend of mine, she tried to get me to try sushi. And she was like, they have vegetarian sushi, because at the time I didn't eat fish or really meat or anything like that. And so she was like, they have vegetarian sushi. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, maybe I'll try that then. She took me to this really nice Japanese restaurant. Like, it wasn't just like some run-of-the-mill place. Like, it was a very nice restaurant. And I got like an avocado roll or something. I don't even know. I'm like, how do I eat this? Because it's like, you don't really like, you can bite sushi in half, but like then it kind of falls apart. She's like, you just shove it all in your mouth. So when I did that, like I literally almost threw up in the middle of this restaurant. Like, I was such a crazy person about texture and how things like feel in my mouth, which is why I don't eat so many things, because I'm like, I don't mind the taste of it. It's just the texture freaks me out. And I've realized that it's just been a total mental block, which I'm finally getting over. But yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm never trying sushi again, because I literally spit the piece out of my mouth and was like gagging and like chugging down water so that I did not throw up in the middle of this restaurant. Super classy, right? So when I met my husband, he loves sushi. When we were living at Oceanside, we would go to sushi quite often. I get the chicken teriyaki. He would get all this different stuff. So finally, we move out to Alabama, and I decide that I'm going to try sushi. They have the sushi restaurant in town. It's actually a hibachi grill with the sushi bar. And I told my friends, they were like, when I told them I was going to Japan, they were like, oh my God, what are you going to eat and stuff? And I was like, well, actually, I've started eating sushi, and I actually like it, guys. And they were like, and Alabama? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, it's not going to be fried. Japan. I was like, no, it's not fried sushi. It's just regular sushi. And they were like, okay. They're probably still like, whoa, she's going to be in for a rude awakening when she goes over to Japan. But yeah, so I started trying some things at this new restaurant, and I've actually really liked them. And I've just started kind of like slowly but surely introducing myself to like some other Asian flavors. And I'll tell you, if you guys have a mental block or having a hard time like liking a certain kind of food, and you think to yourself like, oh, I would like to eat this for the health benefits, or like, my significant other enjoys eating this. So, like making stuff yourself is, I think, one of the best ways to learn how to um, like things, because then you have control over what the flavors are. You know exactly what's going into the meal, and you can see it prepared. Now, my aunt shared with me that that kind of like had the reverse effect on her, because like she was like grossed out about like handling some meat and stuff like that. So, like, I guess I could see it kind of going both ways, but overall, like, the handling of stuff doesn't bother me. Like, sometimes I think about when I'm eating salmon, like I'll get halfway through the salmon and then all of a sudden I'll like picture a fish swimming in the ocean or like in the lake or something, and I'm just like, it grosses me out, and I don't know why I do that. It's super weird. But I'm trying to stop doing that because I just think fish are so ugly and so gross, but it's like, wouldn't you rather eat an ugly thing than like a cute cow? And I have no problem eating hamburgers or steaks. So it's like, are you in a chicken? So, anyways, yeah, so I've just gotten a lot better with like the flavors of that kind of cuisine. So I am super excited to continue to expand my palate. And now I can go over there and like feel good about like eating and trying the foods, and not worrying about like what the hell I'm gonna eat once we're there, right? But anyways, so we're at this Japanese restaurant in town, and it was my friend's birthday. And I had kind of started getting on Duolingo and trying to learn some Japanese phrases. And so when the waitress came to our table, I said, she set down some different things, and I said, arigato gozaimasu. And that means thank you. And she just kind of looked at me like I was crazy and walked away. And so I looked at my friend and I was like, oh my God, did I say that wrong? And she was like, what were you saying? And I was like, I was trying to say thank you. And she was like, well, I don't know. And so the waitress kind of walked back, like came back the other way. And okay, to start this story over, she is of some sort of Asian descent. I just assumed, because we were in a Japanese restaurant and I think they make such nice sushi and the hibachi and everything, I assumed that they were Japanese. I will say, like, that is ignorant of me, and I shouldn't just assume people are from, certain countries or whatever. I am hoping that once I'm living over there, I will be able to better tell, the different cultures and ethnicities apart, I guess, in that area. And I think I will pick it up. When I lived in New York, it was like it's a melting pot, and I could tell you like people from all over the place. But it's like once you get into like a more dense area, like where I am now, where you don't really have a lot of diversity, it's like, your mind kind of gets stuck into thinking like a certain way, right? So, not that I think any certain way, but just that, like, I'm trying not to get myself in trouble here. I will admit, it was ignorant of me to think that and assume that they were Japanese. So, but I was in a Japanese restaurant. They are of some Asian descent, I assumed. So I walked by and I apologized to her because I said, I'm really sorry if I mispronounced that or if I said something I wasn't supposed to say. I'm like, I'm moving to Japan and I've been practicing my Japanese, so I thought I would just try it on you. And she's like, oh, okay, and she just was like kind of awkward and just like was like, you're fine, and just like walked away. So I was like, okay. All right. And so she came back again and I said another phrase to her, and I don't remember exactly what I said. I might have said, like, thank you again, or I might have said, like, is this how, because I think Ohio gozaimasu is good morning, and so I think I might have, like, said that to her, like, in trying to, like, ask her opinion, and she was just like, oh, yeah, that's very good, and I was just like, okay. So she goes over to the table next to us, and I'm just sitting there really kind of confused because I'm like, man, I must have been such a freaking idiot. Like, I am offending this girl left and right. Finally, she comes over and she was like, I'm really sorry, but I have to tell you. And I was like, what? And she was like, I'm actually Chinese. I'm not Japanese. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I did not know. And she's like, no, it's not a problem. Like, I just didn't want you to, like, try to speak Japanese to me and think that you're saying it right because I don't know what you're saying. And I was just like, oh my gosh, well, thank you, and I was like, and I was like, so is anyone else here Japanese? Because I'm really wanting to practice my Japanese. And then she, like, got really weird and she's like, no, nobody here is Japanese. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And she's like, we're all from China. We're all Chinese. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right, that's fine. And she's like, every restaurant in town is Chinese. And I was like, what? And she's like, yes, there's no Japanese people in this area. We're all Chinese. And it was like, how she was saying it was like, the jig is up. So I was like, okay. And she walked away, and I'm like, me and my friend are just like looking at each other. And I'm like, they have been playing off our ignorance. Like, it's almost like they did kind of want us to assume that they were Japanese because they know we're so ignorant that we can't tell the difference. And I'm just like, this is the weirdest thing ever. So I've let it go, obviously. I don't care that they're Chinese. I don't think anyone would care that they're Chinese. I think that it doesn't matter. Like, you have different people all over making different food. There's actually a Chinese restaurant in my friend's town that makes amazing pizza. That's great, you know? You have people making all sorts of different kinds of food. So it's just like, I don't know why they, like, she had, like, I don't know if that was just her or if there's some conspiracy here within the, like, Asian community in our area where, like, you know, like, don't let them know that we're not Japanese. Like, I don't know what the deal is, but anyways, I feel bad if she actually feels that people care about that, because in our area, I don't think people would care. I think people would be fine knowing that they're Japanese or Chinese family. But yeah, so, and then also, like, the other day there was this, like, older man that was sitting at the bar, and I could, like, overhear his conversation, and I'm pretty sure he thought the girl was Japanese too, and she went along with it. She was, like, acting as if she wasn't Chinese. So I'm telling you, there's something up with this area, this community. I'm like, you guys, nobody cares. Like, I guess maybe they do. I don't know. Anyways, weird story. Can't practice my... But luckily, I have a friend who, weirdly enough, when she was in college, she took an elective for Japanese classes. And then she ended up marrying a man who was in the Navy and got stationed in Japan. So she became an English teacher while she was over there in Japan. And so she actually speaks pretty decent Japanese, like, not super fluid, but at least, like, she knows, like, phrases and, like, different words that are good to know. And it's really funny because when she gets a little tipsy, she starts speaking in Japanese. She'll speak Japanese to her cat, and it's really cute. And we're just like, and they also lived in Hawaii for a time, so she, like, intermixes, like, Japanese and Hawaiian phrases together, and it's just really funny. But I'm like, okay, I guess I have at least somebody that I can, you know, work on some phrases with. But yeah, I thought that was kind of a funny story. Anyways, I'm gonna kind of wrap it up a little bit here, just because this week has been so a lot, and there's been so much to do. I've really been enjoying putting these episodes out each week, though. It's something that I really look forward to. So with that being said, I'm extremely excited to continue my podcast in Okinawa. I am hoping that it will still be called the bored housewife, but I'm hoping that I won't be bored anymore. But the nature of like my husband's position with the Marine Corps and like how they do deployments, how he explained it to me is that like he'll basically probably be on a deployment for 3 to 4 months at a time every few months. So he'll be home for a few months and then out for a few months. And so, whereas like deployments not in Okinawa or not in, like deployments that he's been on before, like if you get on like a MEU, which I don't remember what that stands for, but it's like a ship deployment, you're going to be gone for probably like close to 9 months, maybe a little bit less. When he went on his deployments to the Middle East, he was there for about 6 months. And then it's like, a full year and then like a half year. And then you're like going again. So when you're stationed there, like his one friend has been on, I think just one deployment, the unit that he used to belong to. I think his friend has been on 1 or 2 deployments since we've been out here. Maybe just one. But anyways, so it's just a little different flow of things. So I'm still going to have quite a bit of downtime and like alone time. So I'll be able to get a lot of this stuff made. And I'm just excited. Like, I hope you guys are interested in kind of following me and like living vicariously through my experience in Okinawa. I am toying with the idea with doing some like videos on the process of moving out there, but those are going to be like, they'll still be a part of my series, The Bored Housewife, but they're going to be hopefully shorter, and I will still release an episode on Mondays. I'll probably, if I do that, it would only be for a short amount of time anyways, and it would probably be like throughout like the week, like a different day of the week, not to confuse it, because it's like, if you're not in this world of military life, and even if you are, but you're not like PCSing to Okinawa, I don't think that my experience of whatever I'm dealing with, other than like my horror stories I tell you guys and like my freakouts, are very entertaining. It'll be like a little drier, I feel like. So I don't know if I'm going to do those or not, because just it's kind of a lot, and it's like, I want to be helpful and I want to help like other spouses like work through this stuff, but at the same time it's like having to relive this. So maybe I'll wait until I get out to Okinawa, and then like, I don't know. So far right now we have to still quarantine for 14 days. So quarantining with nowhere to go or nothing to do and desperately wanting to get out and explore is gonna be really hard. So maybe I'll make like a bunch of videos during that time. But anyways, I'm just like, we plan to travel a lot, which with COVID, who knows when we'll be able to do that. I'm really hoping that stuff will start working out soon. I think Japan is a little bit slow in getting vaccines. Don't quote me on that. I don't actually know that, but just from little bits and pieces that I've heard from other people. So once I think Japan starts getting more vaccinated and has a better grip on what all of this is, hopefully in other countries in the area, hopefully we'll be able to start to travel not too long. I'm like, I will give it a full year of being out there. And then I'll lose my shit if we can't travel. I mean, still won't be able to do anything about it, but at least on Okinawa, there's going to be so much stuff to see and do down there. It's an island, but it seems pretty big, and I think there's a lot of stuff to like. My friends told me about different hikes to go on, and there's lots of waterfalls and all this. So, I definitely want to share some of that stuff with you guys. So I hope you are into that. But I'm still planning on bringing content that is relatable, and this move and just moving to a new country is going to bring up so many other issues and so many, maybe not issues, but just new feelings, new emotions, or emotions in different ways, having reactions to things, like maybe I'll do a whole episode too on just like, having like moving and like taking these different risks and stuff like that. And I'll be honest, like it's a lot easier doing this through the Marine Corps because it's like, for one, you don't have an option, you just got to go. But two, it's like, they pay for you to go over there. They, help you. They have a whole system that helps you arrange all of these things versus like trying to do this as a private citizen and figuring out all the different, you know, I don't know, different businesses or private whatever that would help you in these scenarios. So at least we have that. That's helpful. And we don't have to pay for this relocation, which is also helpful. But nonetheless, it's still, I'm extremely excited. I would be lying to say if I wasn't nervous. Nervousness isn't really the forefront right now. I am mostly just excited and just so ready to do something new. But I'm sure once it gets closer to the date of us going, it's gonna start being like, oh my god, we're gonna do this. So, but yeah, it's gonna be a whole new thing for me. Like I talk on the phone with my mom every single day, and like that's not gonna happen anymore. I'm gonna be on a completely, different day than most people. Like I think they're like 12 hours ahead or something. They're literally on the opposite end of the world. So, yeah, lots of different ways of having to communicate and just keep in touch. And also, I'm like actually really looking forward to a little bit of the isolation. I feel pretty isolated here sometimes in a bad way. But not to get into this too much, I said I was wrapping it up, but like it's weird because since it's like, and this is just my perspective. So if you know me and you're like, I don't feel like that at all, Allison, that's fine. This is just my perspective. I don't hold it against anybody. I've been trying to work on myself better to set boundaries, which I've gotten better at, but I have a lot of work to do in that area. But it's like, I think sometimes that people think that I don't have anything to do and that like because I don't work a job, I just am able to like at a moment's notice be at someone's beck and call. That's not my husband at all. My husband does not do that. He totally honors and respects my time because I am very open and honest with him about it. But there's just other people in my life that I feel like don't. And again, like probably haven't even said any of it to them. I probably haven't even been like, hey, like my time's valuable too. But mostly it's just about me being like, here's what I can do. Here are my boundaries. And then, people respect that. But it's just like when you don't speak up for yourself and say that. So, but even still, sometimes there's like a few people that's just like, oh man, I have a hard time telling them no or like setting those boundaries, I guess. And so I am excited to go somewhere new, to have a fresh start, and kind of set up my expectations again and not be so carefree in whatever my position is. So I'm not sure if I'm going to end up getting a job in Okinawa or not, but let's say I don't and I just continue to do this in my writing and stuff, I'm not going to be so careless about it because when we got here, how I presented myself to people and like to my friends and everything, it's like, oh, I just do like this little thing and I just totally just make it seem like it's not a big deal and that it's not important when it's actually very important to me. And I belittle it and I belittle myself in the process. And so it's like I've just been trying to kind of like work on that. And it's hard once you've already like kind of established stuff with people, to then be like, well, here are my boundaries. And it's like, where'd that come from? And it's like, oh, I know. And I just don't like confrontation in that way. I will stand up for myself, but I don't like to have to do that. I mean, it's very uncomfortable. So, anyways, I'm excited to kind of just have that excuse of like, well, I'm on the other side of the planet, so good luck keeping in touch. I'm teasing. But I will like definitely be setting my boundaries of what that is because it's just like I'm not going to be I don't need to get into all of it, but it's just like there will be boundaries set and new expectations made. It's all, we're all just works in progress, but I'm just kind of excited that I'll be in this new place in my life where there won't be so many expectations of me, and I can start kind of figuring out what it is, like where my time is most valuable and all of that. So, yeah, but anyways, I hope you guys are excited for me. Some of you that might be in the military family, in the community, you might be thinking like, oh, poor girl, she's going to Okinawa. Because sometimes Okinawa gets a bad rap. But I'm excited for the adventure, and I'm just really most excited to not only live in a new culture, but also have the opportunities to travel. So, of course, COVID pending, that will play a big part in what we get to do. But I feel confident that in the next few years things will start to turn around and loosen up. So once people get the vaccines and just things start getting more under control. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. Please subscribe. Please comment. Please like. Please follow my other pages. Now that you know we're going to Okinawa, I really don't want to get a job there. I would love to be able to, bring in some revenue through this, and, and however I can do that. And so I can start contributing to like my family. And I don't know, I want the flexibility so that when we want to pick up and go somewhere and my husband's home and he can get the time off, then we can just go and we don't have to worry about my job. So if I get a job, I get a job. That might be a good way for me to meet people and get more immersed in the culture. I don't know. There's so many things. But anyways, it'd be really cool if this could start gaining some traction. So please please share with your friends, subscribe. Whatever it is you gotta do, do it. And if you don't, I just appreciate your watching and listening. I'm really thankful for you guys. I'm really thankful for the community that I do have around me. So anyways, thanks for listening. I hope you guys are as excited as I am. And cheers. I'll see you guys next week.